Good morning and welcome to Planet Althistory. Today we are going to discuss what if the Holy Roman Empire remained united. The easiest way to pull this scenario off would be with the Ottonian dynasty. Otto I became Charlemagne's successor because he was crowned by Pope John XII as new emperor, and with that comes of course the translatio imperii, so thus the Holy Roman Empire. This expression, translatio imperii, means that the power or this prestige of the Roman Empire, ancient Rome, was thus put into this new position and into this new person, Otto I. Otto II actually died very early, so he was only 26 years old when he died, and the empire therefore suffered a huge political crisis. And also with this came that you had a lot of rebellions, you had a lot of usurpers, like in Rome you had Crescentius the Younger, who managed to take power in there, and it was just a very turbulent time. And the son of Otto II, Otto III, he was only 3 years old when he came to power, but of course he never had any real power. So for the sake of the scenario, let's say that Otto II lives much longer. First of all, it would be very certain that Otto II would still follow his policies as he did in OTL. And these were inner consolidation, conquest of Italy. Italy was very important for them, and the Christianization of Eastern Europe. So to give you a little overview, let's try to draw a little map. Here you would have France. Italy, it would depend, because they would have control over Rome, but the south, it would not yet be under their total control, so it's very, very different. Here you have Poland. The eastern part is a bit problematic because you still had a lot of Slavic population. The Czechs, then let's say we have it here like this. The Hungarians, and in here you have a lot of other population, and of course Denmark. Even within the empire you had a lot of Slavic population. You had also Italians, so this was not a very Germanic empire per se. Otto the Third was not a bad king, as it was described in OTL. Of course, there are many sources that were lost, so we have to base ourselves on the sources that we have nowadays. But his policies, for his perspective, they made very much sense. And thus, he would probably even be a better king, better emperor, have better leadership, if Otto II would have the time and a longer life to teach him how to do certain things. We can then say that even if the Ottonians would have bad successors, ones that would really mess up a lot of the policy, due to these good policies that they had, especially for Eastern Europe, where they kept like Poland in check, they actually founded in the year 1000 the first bishopric in Gniezno in the year 1000. So Boleslav, the king of Poland, was then accepted as king. He had then also his own Catholic church and all of that, so it was done by them. And also the Hungarians, the Bohemians, so they had very, very specific policies in Eastern Europe, and they even helped sometimes the Holy Roman Empire to suppress Slavic rebellions in the East. So that's very important. And I think it would not make much sense if, let's say, there is a bad king who will maybe not fight against them, but who does internal stuff that is really bad, it will not make much sense for them to interfere and just do bad things, because both actually benefit from each other. The policy with Byzantium was also very specific in the fact that, for instance, Otto II, his wife, was a daughter of a Byzantine emperor. So there is a slim chance that they might actually continue to have similar policies, in that sense that they marry each other's relatives. But there comes also this negative aspect that perhaps one of them might end up being not competent. After a few more generations, the title of King of Germany would be passed through inheritance. The emperor title would still be given by the Pope, but this might just become a formality, if the Ottonians kept Rome, of course. A centralized Holy Roman Empire would be in majority Germanic, and we would see a Germanization in many areas, not just the Slavic areas, but also in Italy to a lesser extent. To the Ottonians, Italy was very important, and they would not only try to get a strong foothold on it, but defend it as much as possible, perhaps even at the cost of the western or eastern border. With that goal done, the Ottonians would be big supporters of the Reconquista and the Crusades, if they would exist in the timeline, having in mind how Otto II lost against the Saracens, which were Muslims. They would be big supporters of the Christianization in Europe, and thus Europe would be Christianized at a faster pace. The main rival for this Holy Roman Empire would of course be, France. You guessed it right. France, in our timeline, was actually the counterpart of this HEL, Holy Roman Empire. France was able to centralize, France was able to put all the power in the king's hand, and France thus became united. Whereas the Holy Roman Empire became very, very balkanized. Now, when you have a strong Holy Roman Empire, they will be able to somehow keep France in check. So France will not just be able to take this territory, whatever, only if they would make an alliance with Poland or the Hungarians or support some Italian rebellions. It would perhaps help them somehow, but if, let's say, they manage to take this territory and then the Poles will manage to, I don't know, take this territory and then this and this, there might still be the chance that the Holy Roman Empire, when they have a more competent or a better chance to get these territories back, they will just do it, and it will not cost them a lot because of their big power that they have. So if they play all their cards really right, they will be able to not only keep the Eastern Europeans in check, but they will also constantly make pressure on the French. And with a good strategy, they are maybe even able to conquer all of France. So we might actually see the re-establishment of a Frankish Empire. And that's not really far-fetched, because the idea of Charlemagne, it was very recent. So it was not like 1,000 years old like ancient Rome. No, it was still very much close to that timeline that they had. So there were still a lot of indications of what Charlemagne did, who he was. And also another thing is that Italy is very important for them. So they will try to still not only have control over northern Italy, but they will take all of Italy. And they will not only take all of Italy, but they will defend Italy from any Muslim invasion. Because with this fight that Otto II had, where he lost against the Saracens, which were Muslims, he and his successors, they will have this idea to always keep Italy in their hands, first of all, and second of all, defend it from Muslim invasion. It will be like their prestige to keep Italy. And with this, realistically speaking, they would also invest many, many resources in the Christianization. So as I said, in Gniezno they had like the bishopric that they opened there in Poland. They also sent a lot of missionaries in Eastern Europe, and because they were also against the Muslims, fighting to protect their beliefs, it's very much possible that they will spend not only financial resources but also military resources, technological resources, everything that is at their disposition, because they would take this really serious to fight for a united Rome and also fight for Jesus Christ. China, no matter how often China was divided, no matter how China was ruled by foreigners, China always stayed united and reunited, and the concept of China was never questioned. If we take this for the Holy Roman Empire, the name Holy, Christianity, they fight for Christianity, Rome, because they keep the city of Rome, they keep control of Italy, and Empire, well, Empire, they will live by their name. And this concept of Rome, it will never fade away. And even in China, in the north, you will have people who have a very different dialect, very different beliefs, very different customs. In the south, you will have very, very different people, but they are still Chinese. And the same for them. So no matter if you are like in here, or in there, or in here, or here, you will be Roman. You will always stay a Roman. Take Greece. There, the native Greek population, they refer to themselves as Romanoi. A very good example. Now, what about the Viking raidings? The Vikings, they will probably still go over here, or the Elbe, or the Rhine, or maybe other parts. They will still fight. There will be no reason why they wouldn't just expand. So this will still happen, but I don't think that it will have a really big impact. Perhaps only that some coastal areas, they will be less populated, but that the people will go more inside. And also that perhaps cities along the rivers will have better fortifications. So this is one of the few consequences that I can see. The Mongol invasion, however, will be much more interesting. The Mongols managed to destroy all of Eastern Europe. The Kievan Rus, Poland, even almost the Hungarians, so they were all submitted, and the Mongols only retreated because of the death of their leader. So I will not change nothing of the death of their leader, so the Mongols will still act in the same way as they did in OTL. But it will have a consequence for the Holy Roman Empire. The Holy Roman Empire will, of course, support their Christian brothers. They will send an army. But the difference is that their army is under one single command. They will have more manpower at their disposition. And as a result, more people will stay alive, generals or soldiers, whatever, and they will go back and report what they experience in the fight. And like this, they are able to better adapt to this new enemy, the Mongols. And with the sheer amount of huge number that they can still send, even from France, Italy, wherever they are, plus still the troops of their Eastern European allies, the Mongols will have a more difficult time to stay in Europe. And it is very likely that there could be even some kind of crusade against the Mongols, because they were the bad pagan. It is entirely possible that this Holy Roman Empire might also just be divided again. But as in China, it could be possible that someone of the newly subjugated people could arise after some decades as their new Holy Roman Emperor. Perhaps not a Viking, but perhaps a Slavic person, even a Mongol, in another alternative timeline might become the Holy Roman Emperor, as long, of course, as he is converted. Switzerland, Austria, and perhaps even the Benelux wouldn't exist. After the decay of Byzantium, the possible reintegration of France, and the vassalization of Eastern Europe, the Holy Roman Empire would be the dominant powerhouse in Europe. It is entirely possible that the spread of Christianity could be much faster, more brutal, and it would be similar to some kind of jihad, but only in a sense for Christianity, Deus Vult. As a result, the Holy Roman Empire would not have any interest to be isolated. They would never follow a policy of isolationism similar to China or Japan. Of course, the religious consequence will be that Protestantism might not arise at all, as well as other factions within Christianity. Perhaps the ATL equivalent of Russia could be Catholic. Another option might be that the Holy Roman Empire would enforce a union between Catholics and Orthodox. This actually happened in OTL, but it of course never became really formalized. Byzantium, as in OTL, would also agree for the very reason that their survival would depend on the assistance of the Holy Roman Empire. Still, it is possible that Byzantium would fall to the Muslims and that Spain and Portugal therefore would go around the world to find a new trade route. Thus, colonization would still be a thing. The Holy Roman Empire would be, however, late to the party, simply for the fact that they had other policies, but as soon as they heard about new population, new riches, they would also participate in the colonization. Small colonies in the Americas are very likely, while if a scramble of Africa might occur in Africa, they would have the same amount, if not more colonies as compared to OTL France. To sum it up, the Holy Roman Empire could live by the name they have. So nowadays we make this joke that the Holy Roman Empire, it's not holy, it's not Roman, it was not really an empire, or some say it was an empire. But in this timeline, if Otto II wouldn't die so fast, if Otto the III wouldn't die neither so fast, and they were able to make this title as hereditarian, they would be very much able to actually keep the name, not only, but also deserve the name. Holy in the sense of spreading Christianity. Rome in the sense of that they have Rome and many parts that belong to the, at least Western Rome, and Empire, well, because they are very big. However, Rome as Rome, this concept of Rome, it would be a different concept. It would not be this concept of what we imagine of a Latin-speaking empire and all of that, and a Romanization, Latinization. No. This concept of Rome, it would be one, first of all, of a Christian empire, defending the city of Rome, the Pope, and spreading the gospel. Christianity would be more united on the surface, of course, but if you dig a little bit deeper, you will start to see there's like an underground, there are people like with strange ideas, but they would never make it like, you know, out of this underground. It would still be bottled up in this underground, and officially there would just be the direction of Rome, commanded by the Holy Roman Empire. It's also possible that in this alternative timeline, the German language would mix up a little bit with Latin, and it could spread and become a global language. Maybe not in the Americas. That's it for today. I hope you enjoyed my video. Be sure to like and subscribe, leave a comment, support me also on Patreon, and join my forum, forum.planetalthistory.ga. Until next time.
on Planet Alt History.